What's going on, lifers? Welcome to another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. I'm your host, Jake Thomas, and today's guest is coming to us by way of the future. He is, in fact, tomorrow, later today, actually, on the other side of the world in Russia. He is Dr. Sergei Filonov, who is one of the world's premier authorities, some might even say an expert, in dry fasting and the role of dry fasting and therapeutic healing. He is the author of Dry Fasting, 20 Questions, and we'll get into that book, his work, his research, and how it affects and influences lives and impacts people all over the world, including my own. So without further ado, by way of the East in Russia, Dr. Sergei Filonov, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Сергей, вас приветствует. Вас представили, рассказали о вашей книге, о вашей работе, и можете поздороваться с публикой.
Ага. Все, поздоровался.
Okay, so he said hi. I don't know if you understood it in English.
What, to get right into it, what crazy idea would ever beckon a man to think that restricting people from water could be healthy for them?
Как к вам пришла эта сумасшедшая идея подумать, что дать людям возможность голодать без воды и еды может быть полезно для них?
Но когда, то есть, моя мать и сестра, они были врачами. Соответственно,
His
я в детстве ходил в больницы, много наблюдал и понял, что, к сожалению, медицина, современная медицина может помочь, очень мало, по-настоящему.
mother and sister are doctors as well. And when he was a child as well, he was going to hospitals, to clinics with them. And he realized that modern medicine is not helping actually.
Потом я узнал про мужчину, который вылечил себя рак именно 60-дневным водным голоданием.
Then he learned about a man who cured him water fasting. He did 60 days of water fasting.
Я, конечно, видел много онкологических пациентов, которые мучились, страдали, и они, в конце концов, умерли.
And he saw a lot of patients, oncological patients, who were suffering a lot, and by the end, they were all dying.
И поэтому я понял, что это одна из методик, которая может помочь и этим людям, и не только. Поэтому в институт я уже поступал, медицинский, я уже знал, что я не буду заниматься западной медициной, я стал изучать различные методики естественного лечения, в том числе и голода.
So since then, he already knew, before even going to university, that fasting is a method that can cure people. So when he went to university, medical university, he was learning the protocols, everything that is being offered by modern universities. But meantime, in a parallel mode, he was learning also about fasting and all natural methods of healing.
После окончания института меня распределили в санаторий Горячинск на Байкал.
And after he finished his university, he was transferred to Baikal, to Горячинск resort. Baikal transferred to work there.
Нам приехал один из, можно сказать, лучших специалистов по голоданию, профессор Николаев. Я с ним познакомился, ездил к нему на учебу, смотрел, как он проводит методики. И впервые в России мы открыли отделение голодания в санаторных условиях.
And there he met Nikolaev, Professor Nikolaev, that was healing people already with water fasting. So he met him, he learned from him, he started to collaborate with him. And in this Горячинск resort at the Lake Baikal, they opened the first clinic, so-called clinic. It's a resort, but kind of retreats in a way. It was the first one in Russia that was healing people with water fasting.
Ну, соответственно, мы начали проводить влажное голодание. И проводя это голодание, я понял, что оно не так эффективно при некоторых болезнях, как я думал раньше.
And while they were conducting water fasting with the patients, Dr. Filonov realized that it was not that effective, actually.
Но как получалось? Человек на голоде чувствует себя хорошо, как только он начинает выходить, у него был возврат.
So what was happening that during water fasting, person was feeling himself good, actually, but on exit from water fasting, different exacerbations were happening.
Ну, соответственно, я начал искать путь решения этих проблем. И прочитал много работ, потом общался я с профессором Кокосовым, потом также у нас проводили методику народный целитель Шейников, я общался с ним, и я понял, что надо делать более жесткие условия. Я понял, что когда человек голодает на воде, то воспалительные процессы убираются очень плохо.
Then he started to read a lot of information about that, different researches that were made in Russia. Then he met Professor Kokosov, Shennikov, that was conducting dry fasting and healing people with dry fasting. And he understood, Dr. Filonov understood that methods for healing processes have to be harder than before, that inflammation was not going with water, was not going away.
Ну и, соответственно, я попробовал это на себе. После гриппа у меня было осложнение. У меня развился воспалительный процесс на фронтальной пазухе. Я понял, что если я буду голодать на воде, воспаление не будет. И первый раз я попробовал голодать 4 дня. Я полностью излечил эту проблему. И больше у меня в течение всей оставшейся жизни этой проблемы.
So at he had inflammation and he decided to dry fast. His first dry fast was 4 days. He managed to heal himself. And after that, he understood that it's working. So he tried first on himself. It was working. And that's why he decided that this is the way.
Ну, потом по жизненным ситуациям мне пришлось переехать на Алтай. Мы открыли клинику на Алтае. И уже там стали основательно применять методику сухого голодания. И я уже конкретно убедился, что между сухим голоданием и голоданием есть очень-очень большая разница.
Then by family circumstances, he had to move to Altai. In Altai, he opened a clinic where he started to use only dry fasting method while curing people. And he understood that it's only way that is working to help people. So this was
Я понял, в чем преимущество именно сухого голодания. Это первое. Более сжатые сроки проходят все основные лечебные процессы и границы.
So the advantage of dry fasting that in a shorter period, all these processes, all important mechanisms are going in very short time.
Второе. Есть такой закон природы. Воспаление всегда может существовать только с водой. Нет воды, нет воспаления.
Then there is a rule of nature that inflammation can still be present only with water. No water, no inflammation.
Ну и, к сожалению, в этом современном мире сейчас 70% заболеваний – это заболевания аутоиммунные. Аутоиммунные заболевания – это хронические воспалительные процессы.
Percentage of different diseases around the world that are autoimmune diseases. And autoimmune disease is a chronic inflammation.
Ну и, соответственно, стало приезжать очень много людей, стали заниматься, развивать, усовершенствовать, и начали получать хорошие эффекты именно от сухого.
So people started to come, they started the team and Dr. Filonov started to cure them. They started to have good results, good outcomes from this long dry fasts. So this is the way how doctor started and continued with dry fasting.
Ну и что и делаем по сегодняшнему. Продолжаем развивать эту методику, лечить ее.
Up to now, he is healing people only with this method.
Ну все, следующий вопрос.
He answered your question.
Well, thank you for that answer. And what a journey that is as far as in how and the steps of going through that. I mean, I can only imagine what that was like as a physician or even as a student before. So having to lean into maybe something that does not seem right or that is not conventional or that is deemed even unconventional, and what kind of pushback maybe that received either from your peers, fellow physicians, other scientists, the government, other people. What was that like when you first started to implement that? Even though people were finding success, what was the community's sense around it?
Джейк говорит, что наверняка, когда вы обучались в медицине, вам было сложно внедриться в эту систему, потому что вы изначально понимали, что в ней что-то не так. И вот он спрашивает, как вы с этим справлялись, и в особенности, как вы справлялись с абсолютно нестандартным методом лечения, голодания. И он спрашивает, как социум отнесся к этому, как окружающие ваши одногруппники, коллеги, как на это отреагировали?
Я уже говорил, что я пошел в институт, я уже знал, что я буду заниматься другим лечением. Я сидел в библиотеках и читал не книги про таблетки, а именно книги по голоданию, все, что можно было собирать. Мои одногруппники относились, многие скептически, многие хорошо. Но я не раздувал эту тему. Ну и в то время, когда я учился в институте, у нас во многих больницах проводили голодание, к этому относились нормально.
By that time when he was studying, he was actually finding himself often in the library, reading books about natural healing. And his so-called colleagues were just not commenting much, actually, because at that time, yet in Russia, they were still healing people, even in clinics with water fasting. at that time. А потом, когда вы начали работать, как ваши коллеги отреагировали на то, как вы начали лечить людей?
Ну, пока я начал, относились скептически, ну, на курорте. Но когда люди стали излечиваться от астмы, там, других болезней, многие даже сами в коллективе стали делать это.
And at the beginning of his career, so-called career, his colleagues, of course, were skeptical about his methods of curing people. But when they started to see results of those people who were fasting, they realized that something is in there, and some of them actually started also to fast.
I am a student again right now myself. I'm working towards a PhD here in the States in nutrition science. So to me, this is kind of
Wow.
part of research. And I came across this book 2 years ago at a used bookstore. And I said, wow, that looks really interesting. Let me take that off the shelf. You know, I paid maybe
Wow.
less than $1 for it. And it's been on my shelf for quite some time because as attractive as it is to me, I'm also like, that's not a, this is not a light book. This is a very heavy book in a sense of a metaphor because of what it means and what it holds. And so before I undertook the delve and experience into it, I wanted to learn and read and really being afraid, maybe being ignorant. But now being a student around conventional thinking and Western medicine and what is being taught, and to have done this just so recently while I'm in school has been, it's felt really not liberating, but like almost going against the grain.
Он говорит, что 2 года назад он нашел вашу книгу в старом, то есть магазине подержанных книг, и она стоила меньше $1. Он не сразу смог ее прочитать, потому что понимал, что информация достаточно громоздкая, и, возможно, он к ней не готов. Поэтому он долго ходил вокруг да около, изучая эту тему издалека, и он попутно учится еще на нутрициолога, не знаю точно, ну, в общем, он учится в очень важном престижном университете на нутрициолога, поэтому для него сейчас вот эта тема, когда ты знаешь больше, чем западная медицина, и когда ты пытаешься сдержать себя, потому что ты не можешь противостоять, вот для него этот момент становится немного... идет сопротивление.
And rather than add to my fears, my school and education has actually made me more comfortable. So to me, I feel like many people, experts, physicians, scientists, other doctors, they discourage this or they condemn it for various reasons. But as a student right now, I'm in the learning phases, and some of these courses are still very elementary, even though it is graduate study. But the basis to me of biochemistry is where I found confidence in this working. Talking about essentially all, whether it's an autoimmune condition or a pathogen or a virus or anything detrimental to the body at the cellular level, is hydrophilic. It is in water. It requires water. It is also either aerobic or anaerobic, requiring oxygen or not requiring oxygen. Period. Before anything else, it has to require water. And it has to either or not require oxygen. That's it. Before anything else, any other protein or any other thing it can potentially feed on, it has to have that at its basis. So to me, biochemistry, the fundamentals of biochemistry became my greatest asset in belief in this, in the sense that at the very basis, this is about something being hydrophilic or hydrophobic, nothing more. And all the experts, 20, 30, 50, people that are been in medicine longer than I've been alive, how can you discount the basics, the foundation of biochemistry in the form of something being hydrophilic and hydrophobic? And that to me is that's why it all makes sense.
И так как он изучает биохимию, он говорит, для меня стало настолько очевидным то, что вы говорите, что вирусы, к примеру, не живут без воды, там, без кислорода. Это как база всего, основа всего. И мне непонятно, говорит, как другие ученые, доктора и те, кто пропагандирует здоровый образ жизни или говорит, что они лечат людей, как они могут негативно тоже относиться к голоданию, если то, о чем вы говорите в книге в том числе, это как база всего, с чего все начинается.
Ну, потому что, к сожалению, мышление всего мира заложено с детства, что человек может без воды прожить всего 3 дня потом. Это первое. Второе, медицина – это бизнес. И поэтому, как сказать, на этом и делается упор. И третье, люди очень ленивые. То есть голод – это тяжелое испытание для психики, для всего. А здесь не надо напрягаться, жуй волшебные таблетки, лечись. Вот 3 причины основные.
Doctor is mentioning 3 reasons why people are negative regarding dry fasting, also about scientists, about doctors. First of all, we are taught since when we were children that you can stay without food and water only for 3 days, and after that die. Yeah. And the second one, medicine is business, and the doctors usually are told and are taught protocols, not other way around. And the third thing, people actually, in their majority, are lazy. And it's much more convenient to think that you take a magic pill and that is silencing actually the symptoms. It's not healing you, it's just silencing. But you believe in the magic. And this magic makes you feel that you really did everything you could by taking a pill.
I'm so glad you answered this way, because now this can take us to what I feel the greatest fear of this actually is, and it is introspection. The thing that people are truly afraid of is that this would work, and that it is not the belief in this system and the need for all these things, materialistic, external, superficial things. Whereas everything we need for 99% of people, I will leave the 1% for the sake of imperfection, but for 99%, everything is here. Everything was created perfectly. The hardware is there. The software is there. The ability to heal, to improve, to endure, the resilience that comes with being a human being was created perfectly. But everything out here now in the world we live in essentially disrupts that. And even if things are good for us, medicines, supplements, various forms of nutrition, even exercise, they are all still variables and methods of stress and things that the body has to receive, interpret, analyze, and deduce of what is useful, what needs to be discarded, etc. Whereas with a dry fast, but a dry fast especially, the body has no stress. It has nothing else to discern but its own sense of homeostasis. And by being able to focus on that, that is how healing takes place. But for people, that is very scary, because that means abandoning this system and this comfort that we've grown so accustomed to.
Он говорит, что он очень рад, что вы так рассуждаете, потому что он хочет подвести к тому, что люди, они боятся уйти от системы, боятся уйти от этой комфортной зоны, к которой они привыкли, которая для них знакома, и боятся уйти в это лечение, где полностью ответственность берут на себя. У них в их организме, скажем так, 99% они могут самостоятельно со всем справиться. Или 99% людей могут самостоятельно со всем справиться. И есть, возможно, только 1%, которые действительно им будет сложно, это не для них и так далее. Он полностью разделяет то, как вы мыслите, и ему это очень отзывается.
Да, к сожалению, с каждым поколением все больше больных, с каждым поколением люди становятся, то есть сама система социальная делает их рабами таблеток, и поэтому очень трудно, ну, куча такой информации выбрать этот метод, чисто психологически.
Doctor is saying that it's a psychological thing to choose something different. Each generation now is becoming more and more ill, each generation, and it's becoming more and more addicted to pills. So choosing something different from what your relatives, your parents, your friends are choosing constantly, daily, it's something actually not for everyone.
I feel like one of the things that I really was forced to face during my time in the 7 days was exactly that, was not having those outlets of escape, right? And I think even when something is healthy, like exercise, eating, consumption of any kind of information, environment, whatever, is a form of escape. And when you are in that deep of a state of introspection during an extended dry fast, and you can't go run a marathon, or it would probably be not very advisable to do so, and you're kind of forced to just be here with yourself and your own thoughts, and essentially a place of isolation and, again, deep introspection, it's just so foreign to so many people because we've lost so much touch with that it is a very radical way to face that. And for many people, maybe have never faced, or it's been a very, very, very long time, and they don't even know it's there. I would say for most people, don't even realize how quiet that place is or how sacred it is because of how much noise there has been outside of that. And it's probably around the 5th day when I was really like, wow, this is, I'm out there. I'm on the edges of the map that I have not seen in such a long time in my own mind, because I was forced to be there. And I think that is something that for many people would be the radical response of no or fear as far as in trying to do that.
Very deep. Он говорит, что люди обычно убегают вовне, во внешний мир, за опорами, за надеждами, а в сухом голодании ты должен обратиться вовнутрь себя. И ты должен быть в абсолютном контакте с собой. И когда ты голодаешь, наступает тишина, которую могут испугаться, потому что так тихо, что может стать страшно. И поэтому
Да,
люди убегают и от себя.
но люди вообще от всего убегают. 70% американцев принимают антидепрессанты. Это о чем говорит? Они уходят от реальной действительности, они глушат свою психику и все. Даже о чем мы можем вообще говорить? И 70% сидят на препаратах.
You're absolutely right regarding escaping. Also, the statistics that is showing that 70% of Americans are using antidepressants. What does that mean? It's escaping from the reality. They are not facing the reality. They just escape.
Someone asked me, it's very true, and that's very true, and it's very sad. Even now, military-aged males, so of age range for military service in the United States currently, as of, I believe this study was done in 2021, so just a few years ago. But 75% of military-aged males were deemed unfit for military service because of physical inability by way of being physically out of shape, mental disability or inadequacy because of some type of disorder or dysfunction, or use or addiction to some type of prescription medication. And of those 75%, 50% were a combination of one, two, or all three of those things. So it's very, very much an obvious state of chronic escapism. And whether that's by way of fear or ignorance or just being pulled away, it's where we are. And when people ask me about, the why behind it and saying like, wow, that's so cool, you lost so much weight, I'm like, the physical benefits obviously are a direct correlation and they are directly related. Yes. But to me, the liberation that takes place with the mind, the power of belief, the amount of creativity that gets fostered, the realization of just how much more there is to being a human being far exceeds any physical benefit that takes place. The physical is actually an indirect benefit. It's circumstantial because the body's just, yeah, this is the easy thing for us to do. We get rid of toxins and yes. But you, as the person, the patient undergoing the experience, have to embrace it during that time because that's when the work is happening. That's when the magic is happening. It's going to be over. It's not going to last forever. So you have to take advantage of that enlightened time while you have it because it will only be there for a day or a few days. You have the entire life to live after that and reintegrate or integrate what was learned during this mystical experience. But the physical part is like, to me, that's the body. This is easy. It's what you can do and find within your mind amidst all that is the real like gold.
Он упомянул про американских ребят в возрасте военно-призывном. 75% американских ребят не призываются по 3 причинам. Либо они физически не подходят, либо ментально не подходят, у них проблема, либо они принимают какие-то допинги. А у 50% из этих 75 у них есть комбинирование 2 или 3 элементов вместе. То есть насколько люди не подготовлены изначально, да, и они убегают от всего, потому что так их вырастило общество. И касательно сухого голодания, он говорит, что когда проголодал 7 дней, у него комментарии были, что как классно, ты так похудел. Он говорит, это последнее, о чем я думал, потому что, да, физические преобразования, они присутствуют. Главное было столкнуться с самим собой, увидеть всю эту широту и тишину, в которую он погрузился, и увидеть бесконечный вот мир, который нужно охватить и в котором нужно разобраться. То есть для него это было больше на спиритуальном таком ментальном уровне, больше, чем на физическом. И так происходит.
Это все понятно. Это же просто современное общество живет в тумане. Они плывут, как щепки по течению. Голод – это та методика, как мне сказал один психолог, когда мы идем против течения, когда мы используем собственные ресурсы. Мне очень жалко, что люди плачут, стонут, жалуются, что они больны. Но они даже ни 1% не использовали ресурсов своего организма. Так вот, голод – это прежде всего использование ресурсов своей ходячей аптеки. Вот это самое главное. Человек начинает открывать собственные возможности, способности и на ментальном, и на физическом.
So, doctor is saying that in nowadays, people live in a fog. They do not live in clarity. And usually they just go with the flow, but not because they are in contact with themselves. Just the flow that is offered to them. So they just go with it. And fasting, it's going against the flow, using your own resources, using the resources of your own inner pharmacy, because we have our inner pharmacy that is healing us. But to open it, to start using it, you need to activate your inner resources and go against the flow. This is the only way that can help you to become a better version of yourself.
I like the way he says that with the flow and against the flow. Since the 7 day, I've been dry fasting every day now, but just for the day. So typically I used to eat, or for quite some time, eating just one meal per day, because I found through fasting and extending an eating window or shortening an eating window, I had so much more time during the day, so much more space for creativity and ideas because of how much time I was spending on eating or thinking about food or going somewhere, preparing, cooking, conversing, socializing. Just so much energy, brain ether was dedicated to food. And we still do that because as modern humans, and especially in the United States, people do not eat to live, they live to eat. Again, this experience, we celebrate, we eat. We mourn, we eat. A wedding, we eat. We die, we eat. We're bored, we eat. And so just by not doing that as frequently, I have found advantages in life, in work, being able to outdo, outthink, outmaneuver, whatever. And even if it's just within my own head, just this new sense of space. And now adding in regular daily dry fasting. Like right now, I haven't had anything to drink today. I haven't had to use the bathroom. I'll use the bathroom once per day, as opposed to, oh, I've got to pee. I need to pee. I use the bathroom once a day. And like that to me is like, great. I'm not spending my life eating my way through the day. I'm not spending my life urinating my way through the day. I am being a human being. I'm enjoying the human experience as it should be in my eyes, as opposed to constantly in this state of action and churning of I don't know, inactivity, because it's bullshit. Eating, drinking, as opposed to I'm just sitting here and enjoying the being aspect of a human being.
Он сейчас говорит, что он голодает каждый день, но сухую. Но он имеет в виду, что он ест один раз в день, к примеру, потому что люди привыкли есть на похоронах, на рождении ребенка, на свадьбе, на всех праздниках. И сейчас он заметил, что когда ест просто окна интервальные, такие достаточно большие, это ему позволяет не фокусироваться на еде, потому что люди в основном живут в Америке, я так думаю, что и везде, живут ради еды, а не едят ради того, чтобы жить. И вот он говорит, что он голодает каждый день, потому что таким образом у него появляется возможность использовать это время для того, чтобы творить, для того, чтобы заниматься важными делами, работой и так далее.
Скажи, я хочу его разочаровать. То, что он ест раз в день, это никакого отношения к голоданию. Это просто ограничение.
Doctor want to disappoint you that eating once per day, it's not fasting. Eating once per day, it's just eating once per day. It's like, I call it personally intermittent eating.
Good correction. I like
Sorry.
it. Good. Well, then I should
I didn't want to express myself.
No, it's good. Then I should
I was waiting
rephrase.
to say that.
No, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Ну и
But
вообще,
yeah,
что вот эти все модные методики, интервальное голодание и так далее, никакого отношения к голоданию не имеют. Организм работает по принципу все или ничего. Или питайся нормально, или голодай так, как положено. Вот и все. А это все лишь своеобразные диеты.
You can do whatever makes you feel good. The only thing that it would be good if the dynamic of what is happening would be called in a correct name. Because all kind of detox, all kind of diet, all kind of intermittent eating with different time of not eating, it's not fasting. Fasting, it's usually 1 day and 1 night. We even do not calculate hours. I will insert something. Sometimes people are saying, I started to fast at 6 p.m. And my question is, did you finish to eat at 5:59? You understand? The
very much.
digestive system is still working. How can you say that you started to fast at 6 p.m. from the moment you stopped eating? It's not starting to fast. Fasting starts in the morning, in the moment you wake up, and finishes the next morning. It's the 1 day of fasting. Everything else, it's good. It can be really good what you're saying. Doctor is also saying it's totally fine to eat once per day. Totally fine. But it's not fasting.
Oh, I like it. I like the literalism. um, because I would also correct someone to misuse or who would misuse terminology incorrectly. So I appreciate the critique because I would do the same. Um, what what have you, Dr. Filonov, found personally in your own experiences with fasting? Any, you know, amazing insights or bits of personal reflection or things that you have found and gained emotionally, psychologically, physically, of course, but if you could share some things from your own experiences with fasting, what you have discovered.
Сергей, что вы для себя открыли в сухом голодании на протяжении всей своей практики лечения и собственного голодания на физическом, психическом, ментальном уровнях? Есть что-то, чем вы можете поделиться, инсайтом каким-то или чем-то очень важным, чтобы...
Просто я открыл простую вещь, что в мире в этом есть очень простые, эффективные методики, которые помогают нам выжить в этом мире, грязной экологии, питании. Я открыл то, что есть одна из лучших методик и самая короткая, которая позволяет открыть свои способности, свои возможности, свои ресурсы. Никакая йога, никакие там дыхательные гимнастики за такой короткий промежуток не дают раскрыть свои способности. Ну и вообще эта методика, я считаю, одна из лучших для профилактики и для того, чтобы выжить в этом современном мире.
He considers dry fasting one of the most powerful practice to unleash your own capacities, to open up your possibilities, inner possibilities, inner gifts, something that with other practices you might need much more time. And this is very concise time. Yes, it's very hard practice, but it's very effective. He's saying for mostly for the inner power that one has, that you can release it, open it up. And of course, for maintenance, for health, it's very effective. Especially dry fasting, effective for maintenance. For healing as well, but it's working much better for prevention. Unfortunately, we receive people often when they are already very desperate, when they tried everything. Unfortunately, we wish to come to a point when people would start coming to us for prevention.
Is there a country or particular group of people that seems to be more receiving or more successful in the dry fast, like people from this part of the world or from this area, this religion? I mean, is there a pattern that you've ever seen with patience and success? And if so, where and why?
Есть ли какая-то страна или народ, который более склонен к голоданию, или у которого лучшие результаты при голодании, у которых вы нашли что-то особенное? Может быть, это русские, которые привыкли к тому, что голодание в целом это что-то целительное, или какой-то другой народ?
Ну, в основном, конечно, это наш народ, Россия, потому что у нас генетически сохранилась память о постах и так далее. И наши священники, многие уходили в сухой пост, и люди про это знают, про это есть информация. Также я хочу то, что где наиболее еще распространено, это в Тибете, когда это один из самых коротких путей, я уже говорил, для открытия сверхспособностей, когда люди голодают в пещере, в темноте, и они голодают под руководством инструктора, учителя. И с помощью вот этой методики очень быстро они открывают именно сверхспособности. То есть в Тибете это применяется с точки зрения духовного развития, в России это применяется с точки зрения больше лечебного. Вот две страны, которые более развиты с полгода.
Definitely, doctor speaks about Russian people, Eastern European people, Union people, because in that part of the world, religious people were fasting, and it's quite common. It was quite common. So people know about fasting since long time, and it's not something new. And as doctor was telling, when he was studying at that time, also in clinics, in hospitals, people were treated with water fasting. So fasting, it's not something new. It's not something that we have to explain much. Genetically, we have this memory. So people from Eastern European countries, from ex-Soviet Union, are quite easy in achieving results, in believing, in trying, in doing, in being very courageous about that, because there is nothing new, actually. Genetically, it's something that belongs to us. This is as far as our country is concerned. Then there is a Tibet, where people are fasting to reach enlightenment, either to have superpowers. So for spiritual reasons, in Tibet, it's quite common also to fast. You know, like in darkness, fasting, dry fasting. So these two places that doctor mentioned. Of course, we are receiving people from all the world, but you have to kind of convince them, work with them.
You're going to fly across the world and pay us money not to feed you. I think is like the the running joke or the paradox of like, where did you go? Oh, I went to this fasting retreat in Siberia. Oh my God, that must have been amazing. How was the food? Oh, actually, we didn't eat. And we didn't drink any water either. Sick, Scared, and Stupid is brought to you by Life Like Us, a brand dedicated to empowering individuals to reclaim their health, strength, and clarity in a world that often profits from confusion and compromise. Life Like Us believes in the power of self-determination and the pursuit of personal excellence. Their mission is to inspire a return to natural, unaltered lifestyles that support health the way nature intended. Each product is designed and produced proudly in the USA, using only the highest quality materials to share a meaningful message. By choosing Life Like Us, you're not just purchasing apparel. You're joining a movement that values discipline, self-actualization, and the courage to take control of your health. Visit thelifelikeus.com to explore the full collection and become part of a community dedicated to clarity, strength, and truth. Yeah, as far as in religion, especially with Tibet, I was speaking with someone yesterday on another show about the paradox that exists, in prison as opposed to enlightenment. So isolation, restriction from food, maybe from vision, from speaking, from water, of course, by choice is very empowering, and it is a sought after way to achieve enlightenment, like you mentioned, Svetlana, because of the removal and omission of so many distractions. The mind and the body are able to find this singular focus of individuality, of self-worth, of self-being, and just presence and awareness. Whereas in prison, Russia, the United States, isolation is the ultimate form of punishment. To remove food and water, the ultimate form of punishment. To remove the sunlight, ultimate form of punishment. How strange that is. That in one hand, the monk in Tibet who's taken a vow of silence, a vow of blindness, is on a water fast, a dry fast, and has isolated himself, is in the ultimate state of nirvana. Whereas the prisoner, be it at Black Dolphin or in the United States, isolated in darkness, could not be in a worse place. And the irony that exists between those, to me, is amazing, because in every religious text throughout history, throughout recorded history, all religious texts, all literature having to do with stoicism, spirituality, enlightenment, elevated states of consciousness, any thought leader has used three things, all of them, to get to those places, to talk to God, to find the inner self. Three things: extended treks, so long walks, prolonged fasting, and isolation.
Тему такую затронул, очень интересную, сравнил духовный мир и тюремное заключение. Он говорит, что интересно, что для того, чтобы достичь просветления, люди голодают, молчат, закрываются в темноте и таким образом, как вы сказали, раскрывают свои сильные стороны, суперсилу такую свою. В то же время, по другую сторону планеты, люди в тюремных заключениях делают то же самое, но для них это наказание. Это очень интересное сравнение такое. Они делают то же самое, но для них это наказание. Тем временем, как есть три главные вещи для достижения, сейчас это закончу, для достижения просветления: это длительные прогулки, он назвал, это длительное голодание и изоляция.
Да, он прав. А это похоже. Но разница лишь в том, что в информации, в знаниях. Когда человек понимает, для чего он это делает, будет так. Когда он про это не знает, делает наоборот, будет так. Поэтому голодание лечебное и голодание в тюрьмах и там в забастовках совершенно разные голодания. Это показывает правду. Так же, как и здесь. Уровень информации уровень мотивации и так далее. Вот это самое. Человек в тюрьме настроен на одно. Человек, когда в пещере, настроен совсем по-другому. И вот этот стресс, энергия будет работать на то, как настроен человек. Вот и все.
It's about level of knowledge and level of motivation. It's the same tool or tools, but it's as well as fasting. If you are fasting, for example, know when you will be found, you may die after 3 days because of stress. But if you know that the water is in front of you, but it's your choice not to drink, the stress is different. So it's level of stress, why you are doing that. So the same thing with the spiritual world and prison world. It's why you're doing that. So level of knowledge and motivation, what's happening. Same tools, but different level of knowledge and motivation. This is very interesting comparison. I love it.
Starving versus fasting, forced versus chosen. One is, forced upon you or circumstantial or is a consequence, and the other one is like you touched on, a choice where it's empowering, right? Like it's conscious, it's definitive. And like you said, even with the water right in front of you, it's like, no, I'm exercising the discipline or the decision to not, and I'm empowering myself to do this instead. Do you see a future, Dr. Filonov, for more broad use, more wide scale use for dry fasting to heal? Because as of now, I'm aware of your book. I'm aware of each of you and what you do, what you both do. But as far as on a large scale, I was sitting in an oncology class recently and listening about pathogens and antigens and things with cancer. And all the while I'm listening and I'm just thinking, like, I mean, wouldn't a dry fast essentially do the same thing as chemotherapy and radiation by way of eradicating all cells? Is that not why people's hair falls out? Why they do not become extremely skinny and frail? Because their body and all the cells have essentially been like by a nuclear bomb. I mean, that's what chemotherapy and radiation is. It's literally a nuclear bomb in the body that destroys everything. So why? And I know the answer because the answer is about money. Because a patient healed is a customer lost. But my question is, do you have optimism in the sense that maybe because there finally starts to seem to be some sense of awareness of people and their health. There are protests all over the world now around farming and agriculture and additives and ingredients in food. Great. It might be a small voice, but there appears to be some sense of awareness and urgency in regards to health. Do you have an optimism in that maybe more people on a larger scale will intake dry fasting in a preventative sense, the way you kind of speak on?
У вас есть надежда на то, что о сухом голодании будет больше речи в мире, будет больше известности в мире? Потому что он недавно, когда рассказывал сейчас о онкологических пациентах, говорит, это же ядерная бомба внутри. У них разрывается от химиотерапии, от радиотерапии. Ничего же от них не остается. И все понятно, что дело в деньгах, понятно, что вылеченный пациент – это потерянный пациент. Но тем не менее, если то о сухом голодании будет больше, у сухого голодания будет больше пациентов, и, возможно, даже придем к тому, что люди будут голодать превентивно, не для того, чтобы излечиться. Что вы думаете о будущем про голодание?
Ну, я думаю, что никогда сухое голодание не будет так популярно. потому что просто этого не позволят. Это раз. Но как я могу сказать по практике, что, конечно, по чуть-чуть количество людей увеличивается. Но и, к сожалению, вот эти эпидемии, прививки и так далее сыграли свою роль. Лечения от побочных действий не существует. Люди стали больше искать. Да, увеличивается, но по чуть-чуть. Но никто никогда не позволит распространению естественных методик лечения. Никогда. Это закон. Пока есть такое общество. Но по чуть-чуть количество народа по чуть-чуть будет увеличиться. Что и мы увидим в нашей практике.
By what we see in these years, step by step, the number of people who are learning about dry fasting is increasing. It's not a big increment. It's a very slow one, but still more and more people are sharing their experience. And by sharing the experience, they involve other people's attention to that. But on a large scale, doctor does not believe much that it will be very popular because it's convenient for pharmaceutical companies to be on a parallel, to accept that there is something that can ruin your business, right? So we also were asked once, aren't we afraid? But we have not even 2,000 subscribers on our YouTube. I said, as for now, we are not afraid. Then we will see. And what doctor is saying that the more people sorry, I was thinking, like I forgot. He was saying about recent epidemic that was a few years ago with injections of vaccination, if I can say that, with side effects. I don't want to be blocked.
No, you're fine.
With side effects of that these vaccinations or this disease, recent disease, has provoked. We're receiving a lot of patients with long conditions as well, because they tried everything. People more and more are searching for something alternative that really can help. And if there was a result to someone, so some other people sharing experiences are starting to learn about dry fasting. But still, it's a very slow process.
Ну и скажи ему, что он сказал правильную мысль, что основное назначение голодания – профилактика. У меня есть пациенты, которые были сами больны, но их дети голодали с 3 лет. И я видел этих детей, они были самые здоровые. Поэтому самое идеальное сейчас назначение голодания в этом современном мире – это профилактика болезни. Лучше болезнь предупредить, чем ее лечить.
And since doctor is working since long time, his patients that were cured with dry fasting, they implemented this practice in their families. And their children started to fast since they were 3 years old. So new generation of those people who already fasted and gained results are having benefits out of it. So the children who have fasted, or children of these patients who are years old, are super healthy. So the process is slow, but benefits are huge. And more people are being involved in this process, slowly, but still.
I know it's getting late for you all, so I'm not going to have too many more questions. Just three more. I wanted to say if, what, aside from physical benefits, have you seen on the improvement of emotional and psychological disorder or difficulty with patients? So, of course, people that lose weight, that cure diseases, improve, even remit or omit cancer. What about in an emotional or psychological state? Someone who's having difficulty with anxiety, depression, bipolar issues and disorder, anything within the mind?
It's a very good question. Он спросил ваше мнение по поводу психоэмоционального состояния человека, потому что все понятно, ты можешь потерять вес, ты можешь вылечиться от разных болезней. Он спрашивает про людей, как сухое голодание влияет на их эмоциональное состояние, на их психику, и спросил также про биполярное расстройство.
Скажи, все очень просто. На физическом плане наша психика зависит от печени, потому что это фильтр. Если она даст сбой, будет хроническая интоксикация. Постоянно нервной системы. Отсюда будет все. На энергетическом плане происходит организм, происходит замена старой мертвой воды на живую, которую суперкачественно синтезируют клетки. А энергия – это вода, энергетические структуры. Соответственно, происходит обновление энергии. Поэтому тут организм работает по всем параметрам. И на физическом, и на энергетическом. Я думаю, биполярное расстройство, все это прежде всего все связано с проблемами с внутренним органом. Это может быть связано и с травмами, и это может быть связано с позвоночником. Но тем не менее, я думаю, что голодание здесь может играть большую роль.
Биполярное расстройство лечится?
У нас не было таких.
Угу.
Но если Николаев лечил шизофрению, а это генетическая болезнь, не лечил, а получал ремиссию 10-15 лет, то, наверное, шизофрения по сравнению с биполярным расстройством, то, наверное, конечно, будет лечиться. Просто я не психиатр, у нас больше пациентов с аутоиммунными заболеваниями. Поэтому нам такие пациенты практически не нужны.
On physical level, so since if you have problems with medications, I mean, you are taking pills, you are intoxicated by environment, by stress, by different conditions that create ill liver, because everything depends on liver. And if the liver is suffering, of course, all the emotional state and physical state will be involved and will be intoxicated. Я сейчас пытаюсь повторить все то, что вы сказали, своими словами.
Ну, печень
I'm trying to
интоксикация. Дальше энергетика.
with my own...
Энергетика – это замена
Я
воды.
поняла, я
Всё.
поняла. Окей.
Николаев лечил шизофрению. Всё.
Your translation
Okay.
is much better than mine,
Coming back.
Svetlana. So it's okay. Your translation is much better than mine would be.
I'm saying to doctor, like, please don't tell the whole story, then I'm lost, by the end. In any case, so on physical level, when people are intoxicated, and especially when they're chronically intoxicated, of course, it's influencing a lot their emotions. It's influencing a lot their depressions, liver. It's toxic with intoxicated with pills, with the environment, with pollution, with stress, and you are taking more and more pills for your depression. It's like a vicious circle. You will never come out of it. So for healing depression, Of course, the liver cleans, of course, the body cleans before jumping into long fast. But long fast, it's cleansing you, long dry fast on a cellular level. And this is helping to cleanse the liver on the best. So when someone is asking what is the best liver cleanse, it's long dry fast. But to get there, of course, you have to cleanse your body and your organs. And if your liver will be intoxicated, will be because liver as an organ, it's a silent organ, and it's not showing itself as an ill organ up to 50% of being intoxicated, up to 50%. So only after you've been intoxicated more than 50%, you start feeling some symptoms. So imagine how resistant it is. So of course, your emotional state, and especially people with depressions, will depend on the state of their liver. This is the most important thing to remember. And the psychologists that came to Dr. Filonov, they understood that it's much easier to treat people after they have cleansed themselves with a liver cleanse, with a long fast. Only after that, the therapies really can work faster. Otherwise, you can stay for years therapies and nothing will change, taking pills and nothing will change. It is a vicious circle. So it's good to think to interrupt it at one point. And this is as far as physical level and emotional level is concerned, because everything is interconnected. You cannot stay well physically and bad emotionally. It's all together. And on the contrary. And as far as energetical level, since with dry fasting, you are losing the stagnant, bad, old water from your body because you are not stopping releasing. You're going 3-4 times per day, even up to day 9 of dry fast. So you are, even if you are thin, you think that you are thin, but around your organs, there is a stagnant fat as well that contains toxins as well. So if you're thinking that you're thin, you are not, you have enough. And once you are releasing this stagnant water, the new water is being produced by your own body. And since we are made by 70-80% of water, what does that mean? That the memory of your past life is gone. Of course, it's not a miracle, it's not a magic, but it works this way. So energetically, you are being cleansed up because the old water is gone and the new is being produced. That's why on energetical level, after day 7, you are getting such a good reset on energetical level and you feel it. Of course, even 3-5 days are okay, but a doctor is saying that after day 7, usually it happens, energetical cleansing. And then if you mentioned bipolar problems, so psychiatrist, but Professor Nikolaev was healing schizophrenia. He's healing schizophrenia with water fast, and people were getting into remission for 15 years. So this means that it is still possible. The doctor did not have such patients. So let's say the truth, because especially people with autoimmune diseases are coming to him for cures. But he's saying that it's connected also with internal organs, maybe with traumas. So definitely if a person is being healed holistically as well, because when people are coming to doctor, there is not only fasting that is being offered, but different treatments, very special treatments, body treatments that are helping to adjust, as I say, release the spasms, the blockages, all these tensions. Because when you are just fasting, it's one side of the healing process. But if we're speaking about holistic approach, if you have, for example, blood circulation that is not flowing well, if lymph flow as well being blocked somehow and somewhere. So with therapeutical manual work. You do holistically this work for the body. So from external, the team of Dr. Filonov is helping externally to unblock all your body and to make it functioning better. And from your side, you're doing dry fasting. That's why dry fasting at home, it's still good, but may not give the same results just because it's not holistically being, process is not holistical.
I like how you mentioned about the blockages that could exist as far as in whether it's prescription medication, unhealthy organs, bad memories. If any of those are pre-existing going into a dry fast, especially, it's going to be very painful, much more painful, much more violent because of all those withdrawals that will take place from those things. So someone asked me about my 7-day and hey, was it very difficult for you? And I said, honestly, it was physically fine. I never had any headaches. I never had any withdrawals from sugar. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't eat processed food. I don't have prescription medication. So I did not have all these barriers to have to break through. So for me, it was just everything else was the same. I'm just turning off the water source of consumption. So it was only this one flipped or switch that I had to turn off, as opposed to, okay, we have to stop doing this. We have to stop taking this. We have to stop like for someone else that they might have 20 switches, and all of those switches are going to have a form of withdrawal, or they're going to fight back, because when their oxygen stops being fed to them, or their water or their sugar source or their alcohol, whatever, and especially with the antipsychiatric medication, especially an SSRI with the serotonin disruptive inhibitor or receptor inhibitor, that's going to really mess with some brain chemistry. And that withdrawal can be extremely painful. So yeah, for someone thinking like, hey, should I dry fast tomorrow? I would probably say you should probably stop drinking first before you just go right into it. Or, hey, maybe you should try to not have so many other things on board before you begin, because otherwise you're really going to feel the withdrawal from those things when you go into the fast.
Он говорит, что ему было, в принципе, достаточно легко переключиться на сухое голодание, потому что он не курит, не пьет. У него, так получается, ему просто нужно было прекратить пить, потому что он и голодал, скажем так, в предыдущем, так понимаю, иногда. Поэтому, в принципе, ему было легко. А когда у него спрашивают люди, которые принимают, к примеру, таблетки, у которых нужно переключиться, вот он сказал, я переключил только один фактор, это воду, все. Другим людям, возможно, нужно намного больше изменений привнести в свою жизнь, чтобы начать голодание, что у них может быть обратный эффект, такой возвратный эффект, и их может оттянуть назад. Ну, они могут сказать, грубо говоря, они просто сольются.
Да нет. Нас лечились и наркоманы с 30-летним стажем. Нас лечились это. Все зависит от человека. Вот этот наркоман полностью вылечился. У него было 30 лет стажа. И сейчас он просто лечит сам наркоман. Уже прошло 15 лет. Поэтому если человек очень сильно захочет, и у него будет огромная мотивация, он может очень сильно поменяться.
Of course, we have this preparation to long fast that is being offered, and it's highly suggested. But besides that, motivation is important. Doctor is saying we had this patient with this 30 years of taking drugs, and he was healed. He healed himself because he wanted to heal himself. Yes, it can be hard, but it's all about your strength, your mind, your willpower, and your real motivation. Yes, it's super hard. Yes, you can have exacerbations. because dry fasting, it's not just a magic that will heal from everything. It's super hard practice. You are super strong to have done that 7 days without big issues, but it's not for everyone this way. In any case, as you said, you are not taking pills, you are not smoking, you are not drinking, so you did not have specific reactions, but other people can have. Exacerbation, you are going through healing process, and exacerbation can be different. We do not offer magic. I repeat it again and again. We really want people to understand that it's difficult. It's better to prepare, but sometimes there is no time, there is not much time. And if, for example, also with a doctor, we are watching people, if you do not have late stage of cancer, if you are not diabetic, do not have diabetes, even though you have diabetes, we also can evaluate. If you are not pregnant or some other things that can really stop you from doing immediate fasting, you can be invited to fast, even though you didn't have very good preparation, because time is usually working against us always. So usually we take people from where they are right now to give them opportunity to go through a healing process. And it not necessarily will be a healing one, that like it can be a beginning of your healing process. It can be in the middle of your healing process, or it can be just before you will be definitely finally healed. But it's important to understand that it's a journey. It's never one time process. It's a journey, and it's good to learn it immediately. And what is happening with the doctor, he's saying always, if you are motivated, go for it. But do not lose much time. But do it correctly. The most important thing, do it correctly. And this thing actually is missing at your side of the world.
Oh, you have no idea. You
I
do.
have
I know
this.
you do. No, you do have an idea. Yeah, when I was finishing on the seventh day, I was like, God, I could keep going. Like I absolutely, I felt like I could, I wanted to, but I said, this is what we decided. So it's going to be 7. But now like all I'm thinking about is, okay, so for sure the next one's going to be 10 or 11. I haven't defined that yet, but 10 or 11. And I'm going to go to a cabin in the woods, be totally alone, turn off my phone and just, turn everything off and to just be there. So that's already, the next mind or the next idea, like you said about it's that integration. Like it's not just the one-time experience, but going through the experience is just the beginning. Well, what do you do after it? What do you do with it? What do you do with the information that was learned, the knowledge that was gained, whatever you found, what do you do with that? That's the real work. The experience itself is work, but then what do you do with what you found? That to me is the real effort, and the real work is this: how do I put this to use? How do I implement it? How do I make best use of this gift I just gave myself, essentially? And the last 2 things I'll ask is, it's kind of a hard question probably. What would be the single most thing you think is of greatest benefit to dry fasting? And then also, what would you hope anyone watching or listening to this would take away from our conversation?
Что является самым мощным преимуществом сухого голодания для здоровья человека? Это первый вопрос. И второй вопрос, если слушатели вынесут из этой беседы один совет, каким он должен быть?
Что является самым мощным по сравнению с чем?
В сухом
Смог это,
голодании что является самое мощное для здоровья человека?
самое мощное является за короткий период раскрываются огромные ресурсы человека.
Мгм. И
Очищается,
какой-
глобально очищается тело. Вот это, наверное, самое мощное.
Мгм. So you asked about.
Если мы в общем берем.
Mhm. You asked about the most powerful thing of dry fasting, right? So the most important thing is you're discovering your inner power and your superpowers. Doctor also was telling often about reading minds of people as one of the superpowers, being super sensitive, besides being in contact with yourself. Because what dry fasting really brings you, it's finally finding the contact with yourself and the intuition. Intuition grows a lot with dry fasting. And then as it's cleansing body as not, there is no other practices like this, that in such a short time, it's cleansing and healing body at that level, that it can be done in 7-9 days. Yes, for some people it cannot be enough still, because for having this chronic disease maybe, or they were consuming drugs or medications, it cannot be enough, but still it's super powerful. No other practice can give these results. А какой совет вы могли бы посоветовать, если это будет один совет?
Я бы посоветовал, если человек хочет вылечиться, должен сделать все, как положено, как написано у нас на сайте, как есть протокол. Никаких купаний, никаких чисток зубов. Потому что, к сожалению, если люди чистят на голодании зубы, то будут проблемы с зубами, они могут разрушаться. Они должны про это знать. Никаких душей, ванн, никаких. Или голодать как надо, или не дергаться. И еще надо понимать, что голодание – это прежде всего профилактический метод. И чем раньше люди начнут заниматься, тем больше шансов излечиться от любых проблем.
First of all, sooner you start fasting, better results you will obtain. As we were saying, that it's more pleasant to do for prevention, or at least at early stages of any disease. Do not think that, oh, I will try in a year. Sometimes, as we already said, time is working against us. So just do it. And another thing the doctor is saying, either you're doing it correctly or you don't do it. Because first, you can damage yourself and you can discredit the method. For example, if you brush your teeth, it's not about dry fat being absorbed as well. And especially people who are brushing with a teeth paste, they're ruining their teeth meantime. So people who are fasting, either it's dry fasting and it's totally dry on all levels. On all levels, it's not only about drinking. It's about like being away from water. It's dry. Either it's wet fasting, but like do what you want to do, but call things with their correct names. I know that people call it hard dry fasting or soft dry fasting. There is only one dry fasting, and it's dry. Soft dry fasting would be called in a appropriate, it should be called wet fasting, because you're not drinking, but you are still in contact with water. So it's not dry fasting, it's just wet fasting, it's fine. But the most important thing, what doctor as well mentioned, that if you are brushing teeth on so-called dry fasting, you may lose at one point your teeth. You may have experience. So people who were brushing teeth on fasting, even water fasting, they were having problems with teeth. So this is the thing. It's much better not to, much healthier. And like this, dry fasting will bring you positive results, even for your teeth and for your gums. If not, then you know from where it comes, if the problems will arise. Because besides dry fasting, it's just dry fasting, but even if you do it on water fasting, be attentive what you are brushing your teeth with. Because on water fasting, if you want just to brush with not with a toothpaste, because toothpaste are chemicals. Even though you think that you are not swallowing anything, still chemicals, you're inserting chemicals in your body. So think about that. Be attentive on what are you doing. As I will repeat again, either you do everything correctly or you don't do it at all.
Very much speaking my language. Very much speaking my language. There was a pizzeria in a city I used to live in that had a chef who was very insistent and defending of his recipes. So if someone would come in and say, "Can I get a margarita pizza with sausage?" And he would say, "Don't call it a margarita pizza with sausage, because that's not a margarita pizza. A margarita pizza is dough, tomato sauce, basil, mozzarella, olive oil. That's it. A margarita pizza with sausage is not a margarita pizza with sausage. Call it something else." And he was really, really, really adamant about that. And I was like, man, I like this guy. He defended his recipes and the integrity of what the recipe was. And so for what you're saying is also something I agree with, because it's also a way for people to disavow the method by criticizing it for when it's not done correctly. So I absolutely agree. And I'm certainly guilty of practicing soft dry versus hard dry. But now, having had this conversation, good to know there is only dry. There is only wet. There is no in between. Good to know. And that's moving forward. It will only be dry for me when I'm practicing dry, and it will only be wet when I'm practicing wet. But I don't really see me wet fasting too much anymore after having found this way and the benefits surrounding it. Does Dr. Filonov, do you have any questions or anything else you'd like to say or ask before we see you later?
У вас есть какие-то вопросы или, может, вы хотите что-то добавить ко всему, что было сказано, что мы еще не упомянули?
Ну, просто я хочу сказать, самое главное, если люди хотят заняться этим, чтобы у них было огромное желание вылечиться, огромная мотивация. И чтобы получить хороший эффект, нужна идеальная подготовка, которая вся информация у нас есть. И если они это будут делать, то они действительно получат хороший учебный эффект. Особенно можно сказать, что, к сожалению, в этом мире сейчас очень много аутоиммунных заболеваний, очень много, они растут как грибы. И единственный способ в данный момент полностью вылечиться от этих проблем — это только сухой.
First of all, doctor is saying that the most important thing, that person has to have motivation, real motivation to heal, not a hustle around healing, because some people really like this healing process. They just like to go on with a healing, but real motivation to be healed, it's a different one. I'm not sure if I make myself clear, but motivation to be healed, it's very important. Then very important to prepare as correct as possible. All information is provided, just please follow the rules, not to damage yourself. Because pizza with sausage is, I understand this. If you will be fasting not correctly on the long run, if not on the short run, it can damage you. Not good method for you, but you didn't give it a correct try. And что вы сказали последнее?
То все надо делать вовремя.
And
Чем раньше, тем лучше.
everything has to be done in the right moment. The sooner, the better.
That's excellent. Well, thank you both so much for your time today. I'm going to sign us off here and just want to say thank you again so much. And for everyone listening, you'll be able to find Dr. Filonov as well as Svetlana and their groups and retreats. I'm going to put everything in the show notes for people to see where to find you, where to get Dr. Filonov's book, Dry Fasting, and where to learn more about the art and practice that is dry fasting. So for everyone else, and again, thank you both, Svetlana and Dr. Filonov, for being here with us today on the show. It's really a great pleasure to have you on as our guests. And we look forward to seeing you again. And dare I say, I'm going to have to make a trip out east in the very near future to attend and meet you both. Something I definitely look forward to. So thank you. And I really can't wait to do that.
Он благодарит за встречу, за ответы на вопросы, собирается в каком-то ближайшем будущем приехать к нам. Поэтому поблагодарите и будем прощаться.
Ну, скажи, что он очень нестандартный, интересный человек. Если он будет применять методику в своей работе, он будет, наверное, лучшим доктором, нутрициологом в Америке.
Doctor is saying that you are a very unique and special person. We can feel it. And if you will be continuing doing fasting, dry fasting, he said you will be the best nutritionist in America.
I'll definitely be alone. That's for sure.
Really, thank you for this conversation. Hope it was helpful. Hope we clarified some aspects of Dr. Filonov method of dry fasting itself. Hope everything was clear. If something was not clear, people know where to find us. If not, they will find from you where to find us. And we can provide more information in a more clear way. As we can. Not more than we can, as we can.
Well, thank you again, Svetlana, and thank you, Dr. Filonov. We really appreciate the time today. And for everyone else, thank you for all attending another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. I'm your host, Jake Thomas. We'll see you next time.